Hi, and welcome to Game Assist. My name is Daz, and my pronouns are they, them. It goes without saying that Nintendo is one of the biggest names in gaming, and has influenced the lives of many households since the late 80s. The success of the Nintendo Switch and mobile games such as Pokemon Go has catapulted Nintendo back into the forefront of the gaming industry, and has solidified its place as the most family-oriented gaming company. Nintendo is sometimes branded a kids company because of the nature of its releases. Most of Nintendo's original titles are family-friendly, with any more explicit titles coming from third-party developers. It's unsurprising then that most of the company's titles stay away from the topic of sex and relationships, but what does this mean for LGBTQ+ representation? Despite tending to stay away from relationships and identity politics, Nintendo has made some not always intentional waves in the LGBTQ+ community. From what little attention they have paid us, they've sent us some pretty mixed messages. One of the largest pieces of LGBTQ+ representation from Nintendo is Birdo. Birdo, a character from the Super Mario universe who appears in titles such as Mario Tennis Aces and the Super Mario Party franchise, is a transgender woman. Riley J. Dennis has already covered this in a separate video, which I highly recommend watching, especially if you enjoy Mario Tennis Aces, but here's the basics of how we know that Birdo is trans. In a piece of flavor text from the Super Mario Bros. 2 manual, Birdo is described as thinking he is a girl and would prefer to be referred to as Birdetta. In recent games, Birdo has pretty consistently been referred to as she in English translations, with the exception of Smash Bros. Brawl, in which she was referred to as it. As Riley mentions, this is really crappy representation that, in the English versions at least, seems to have been covered up. This is either due to the problematic language used in Super Mario Bros. 2, or due to Nintendo's reluctance to flesh out a trans character. Birdo's case really isn't much, and we deserve a lot better, but trust me, the trans community is really good at grabbing onto any kind of representation we can get. Another widely recognised example of LGBTQ+ representation from Nintendo is Animal Crossing. Over the years, each new installment to this franchise has recognised gender fluidity more than the previous. New Leaf began this shift by allowing players to purchase clothing and accessories from the opposite gender's collection, and by giving them access to the full range of hairstyles after just a few trips to Shampoodle. The NPCs would often comment on this, often in a snarky manner, but would let you do what you wanted regardless. This trend continued into the mobile game Pocket Camp, only with a slightly less judgmental tone. 2020's addition to the franchise, New Horizons for the Nintendo Switch, was literally game-changing. As well as shaking up many of the staples of Animal Crossing and adding a completely new crafting mechanic, New Horizons literally deletes gender. For the first time in the franchise's history, players are able to design their character using a character creation screen, rather than by answering questions from a random taxi driver or train passenger. As well as being able to choose from 8 different skin tones, players are able to choose their hair colour, style and makeup freely. There is no gender select option. All villagers refer to player characters using they/them pronouns, and you're free to buy whatever clothing and accessories you would like without any snarky comments from the shop staff. Animal Crossing New Horizons has also given us some new, extremely queer-coded characters. These are Flick and CJ, the children and grandchildren of Nat and Chip respectively. CJ is a fishing enthusiast and streamer, and he talks about his partner's commissions all the time. Flick is an entomologist and a budding artist who happens to be taking commissions. After these screenshots were released, everyone pretty much agreed that Flick and CJ were boyfriends, and that we finally had some canon LGBT representation in the Animal Crossing series. A recent guidebook to New Horizons has stated that CJ and Flick are in fact roommates and business partners, but this isn't stopping the LGBT community from insisting that they are a couple. I mean, why would you live with your business partner who also happens to be your childhood best friend? Has Nintendo never heard of the "oh my god they were roommates" fanfiction trope? Plus, Twitter user Zeke Hart compared this use of the word partner to its use in New Leaf. Reese and Cyrus are both business partners and romantic partners, but this is never questioned because they are straight. Other than these instances, Nintendo presents a very straight cis image to the world. For example, there are 74 characters in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, and the majority of them are cis-het. Sure, this is just one game, but it brings characters from across all of Nintendo's major franchises. And in a more deliberate move to leave LGBT people out of their games, Tomodachi Life for the 3DS was heavily criticised for not allowing same-sex relationships. The game is a life sim. It should allow us to replicate the life that we want. So what's the point if you have to change the gender of your me to be able to date your real-life partner? So it's understandable that people are confused as to where Nintendo stands on LGBTQ+ issues. Progressive elements like trans Birdo and gender-neutral clothing in Animal Crossing directly contradict the more general queerphobia surrounding the company's titles. But when you consider the laws and attitudes towards queer people in Japan more generally, it's easier to see why Nintendo might stay away from LGBT content. Let's start with the laws. It is currently the law in Japan that any trans person who wishes to change their legal gender must be sterilized. This has been condemned by the WHO, especially in the lead up to the 2021 Tokyo Olympics. At a national level, same-sex marriage is also not legal, and if you get same-sex married outside of Japan and then return to Japan, your marriage is not legally recognized. This may explain the situation in Tomodachi Life. In 2019, Japan elected its first openly gay member of national parliament. LGBT issues are suppressed and ignored in Japan. They are simply not talked about. Many believe that being gay is a Western thing and think that it just doesn't happen in Japan, but it does. There is a queer community and they are not being represented. Although this contextualizes why Nintendo might stay away from LGBT content, it still doesn't excuse it. This is especially true when you consider that Nintendo is a global company, and Nintendo of America plays a huge role. When gay marriage is legal in so many Western countries, why don't we get to see queer characters in our Nintendo games? Overall, I think that although Nintendo has the odd instance of doing right by the LGBT community, they still have a long way to go. We need more queer representation in video games, especially in those aimed at families, to show kids that LGBT people are everywhere. It would also help to break the taboo that anything queer is immediately not family-friendly content. Queer content is not necessarily sexual. We are just as complex as cis-het people. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope you enjoyed it.
If you've enjoyed this video or learned anything, make sure to leave a like. Comment if you've any thoughts, and make sure to subscribe for more. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram and Facebook at the links below. Thank you to our Patreon supporters who help making videos like this possible. If you'd like to join them in supporting us, follow the link in the description. I want to give a big thank you to those of you who have already subscribed. This has been Daz from Game Assist. Thank you all for watching, and until next time, take care.